Hey it's cendriel here. Welcome back to another Overwatch 2 YouTube video. So I've had the lovely pleasure of being able to play early access for Overwatch's 2 new game mode called Stadium. And of course the girl got to play Ashe, so definitely enjoying Ashe a whole lot. I've been having so many good games with her. And I just want to share the entire rundown on all of her abilities. I'm going to explain all of her abilities, and I'll also add in which ones that I've liked. And I'm just going to say straight up that I've started with a bunch of damage output for her Viper as a consistent DPS player. I found that to be the best for me, but it might be different for you. I've also found out recently that Mini Bob is not good. Yes, spoiler alert. I've seen an enemy Ashe throw Mini Bob so many times, and I feel like he just doesn't get any value, especially being mini, but who's to say? So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to keep pumping out more Ashe content for Stadium and just Ashe content in general, so feel free to keep up to date. And I do multi-stream on twitch.tv/cendriel, also on YouTube. So I hope to see you guys there. And without further ado, let's get on with it. I just wanted to let you guys know about the rundown of all of Ashe's abilities and skills and powers that she has, so you guys know what to expect when this game mode releases. So first we are going to go through common to epic, and we're going to start from the top and just keep going over. Alright, so for common, we have for 1,000 credits, you got 5% weapon power. Next, there's also an option of 10% weapon lifesteal. There's also a 5% attack speed boost, 20% max ammo, and a frenzy amplifier, which eliminations grant 10% attack speed and 15% move speed for 3 seconds. And those are the credits under each icon for all of that. Alright, so next we have the rare section for Ashe's weapon. First one is aftermarket firing pin, which gives plus 10% attack speed and 5% move speed. Advanced nanobiotics, 5% weapon power. After healing an ally, it gains 10% attack speed for 3 seconds. Next, there's a shield buster one, which does 5% of the weapon power, which is right here. So we got weapon power and all the different, and each of these icons that you see right here correlates to your overall power, so you can keep track of that based on what abilities that you pick. So this one, after dealing damage to shields or armor, gain 15% attack speed for 1 second. Okay, this one, it just gives 5% attack speed and then 25% plus max ammo. Techno Leech, 5% weapon power, 10% weapon lifesteal. 10% weapon power, 5% cooldown reduction for icy coolant. And then we got Talon modification module, which is just 15% extra weapon power. Max Mag, which is a hero item. So it gives 5% attack speed and it gains 3% attack speed for each remaining ammo above 50% of your max ammo. So this is really good if you're really good at managing your bullets. So normally if you have a bunch of hours at Ashe, you're usually pretty good at that. That seems very beneficial. So weapon power, this is a tripod hero item. So the Viper, which is Ashe's weapon, her coach gun and dynamite deal 10% more damage to enemies that are below you. So high ground is important for this one. Or if they were to add Lifeweaver, you can use the pedal. So this one, 25% max ammo and 50% reload speed. Another hero item, greased loader. Alright, moving on to the epics, and of course they cost more credits accordingly. So we have Codebreaker, which does 15% weapon power, and it ignores 15% of armor damage reduction. Next one, Salvage Slugs, plus 10% attack speed, and then 25% increased damage to barriers, dealing weapon damage to barriers. Has a 40% chance to restore 1 ammo. I feel like some of these names of these skills can just be like Battle Pass prestige titles. Like Techno Leech, that could have been with the Genji one, honestly. Salvage Slugs, that could have been with the Fantasy, with the Tracer mythic weapon, or mythic skin. Maybe they're just like scrap titles being rehashed. Okay. So we got Volskaya Ordnance. It does 10% more attack speed and deals 3% increased weapon damage for every 100 max life the target has more than you, up to 15%. Next is Commander's Clip, which is plus 10% attack speed and 40% more max ammo. When you use an ability, restore 10% of your max ammo. Weapon Jammer. So this gives 25% armor, and you can see the increase right here. So this is your health right here. So it'll give you, so you'll go from 250 to 275 overall HP points. And you'll also get 10% weapon power. So dealing weapon damage negates 10% of the target's bonus attack speed and increases your attack speed by 10% for 2 seconds. Amari's Antidote, 25% more health, 15% weapon power. So you can build a really tanky Ashe. While healing an ally below 50% life with your weapon, deal 15% increased weapon healing. What? So you can heal with Ashe's weapon? Interesting. Booster Jets, 20% more attack speed. When using an ability, gain 20% move speed for 2 seconds. Oh, okay. So I'm not gonna butcher that name. So Suppressor, 10% weapon power, critically hit supplies, 30% healing reduction to the target for 2 seconds. Oh, 30% healing reduction is a lot. That can be really good. Let's see, Hard Light Accelerator, 10% to the weapon power, 10% cooldown reduction. When you use an ability, gain 5% weapon power for 3 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Next we got the Closer, 20% weapon power, 10% critical damage. Ooh. Critical hits reveal the target for 3 seconds. Alright. Eye of the Spider, 25% to the weapon power, and you deal 10% increased damage to enemies below 30% life. So nice cleanup skill for low targets. Iron Sights. I almost read this as Ironside from 7 Deadly Sins. 10% attack speed. When the target is further than 10 meters, scope shots gain 1% damage for each meter. Ooh. Oh, okay, that's cool. Then we got Sidewinder. 10% attack speed, and then when the target is within 10 meters, unscoped shot gains 15% increased damage. Alright, so that's all for the weapons. Moving on to the abilities. Starting with common, we have charge plating. After you spend your ultimate charge, you gain 25% armor and 10% ability power for the rest of the round. Power playbook, 10% ability power. So, Coach Gun, Bob, Dynamite. Shady Spectacles, 10% ability lifesteal from Coach Gun, Bob, and Dynamite. Winning attitude, 25% health. When you die, gain 15% ultimate charge. Ooh. So that'll be really good for the Bob builds. Alright, next we got rare section. So custom stock, which does 5% weapon power to the Viper only, and then 10% ability power to Coach Gun, Bob, Dynamite. Firelight Overflow, 25% more health, 5% more ability power. When you spend your ultimate charge, grant nearby allies 50 over health for 3 seconds. Energized Bracers, 10% ability power, 10% ability lifesteal. Junker Watch, whatchamajig, 25% starting ultimate charge. Interesting. Oh, Pink Star. So I guess Pink Star means it just doesn't correlate to any of this over here. It's just one thing. Okay, wrist wraps. Got 5% ability power, 10% attack speed. Multi-tool, 5% ability power, 10% cooldown reduction for Coach Gun and Dynamite. Nano Cola, 20% ability power. Wow, 20% is a lot. Furnace Fuel, hero item, 25 health and 5% ability power. Cleanse Burns grant 3% ultimate charge. So if you end up baiting a lot of Susie's with your Dynamite, that's helpful. So now we got Silver Lighter, 10% ability power. Damage dealt to burning targets grant 20% more ultimate charge. Alright, moving on to the epics. We got 3-tap Tommy Gun. 10% ability power, 10% attack speed. After using an ability, your next 3 instances of weapon damage deal additional damage equal to 3% of the target's life. Now we got Biotech Maximizer with more 25% health or 25 health. 10% ability power. When using an ability that heals, reduces its cooldown by 5%. For each unique ally, it heals. So they're turning Ashe into a healer a little bit, giving her some healing abilities and tanking abilities. Catalytic Crystal, 15% ability power, ability damage, and healing grants 20% more ultimate charge. Numerico Fusion Drive, 50% armor. Goodness. 15% ability power. When you use an ability, restores 50 armor or shields for over 2 seconds. Super Flexor, 25% health. When you deal damage, weapons, or healing, gain 5% ability power for 3 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Cyber Venom, 10% ability power, 5% cooldown reduction. Dealing ability damage applies 30% healing reduction for 2 seconds. Alright, Iridescent Iris, 20% ability power, 10% cooldown reduction. After spending ultimate charge, gain 10% overhealth for 3 seconds. Liquid Nitrogen, plus 25 health, 10% ability power. Dealing ability damage, slows the target's move speed by 20% for 3 seconds. Ooh, that seems to be like an annoying one. Nice little CC there. Mark of the Kitsune. When you use an ability, your next instance of weapon damage or healing deals 25 bonus damage or healing. Ooh. And that's not while you're in a Kitsune Kiriko, so they just named it like that. 40% ability power. Wow, that's really high. Look at that. Infrared lens, 15% ability power. Deal 25% increased damage to burning enemies. Then we have stacked items. Wow, 40% dynamite explosion radius. Holy. Imagine that with a mercy pocket or some sort of boost on you. And all the ability powers. Build a blast buckshot. Coach Gun has 15% increased self knockback. Interesting. Alright, so that's all for the ability skills. Next up, we got the survival section of the armory for Ashe. So starting off with common, we have plus 10 health. Health packs grant 20% more move speed for 5 seconds and 50 over health. At the start of the round, gain 100 unrecoverable over health. Next one, while on the objective, restore 8 life for 1 second. That's an interesting one. Alright, another one. At the start of the round and when you first respawn, gain 20% move speed for 10 seconds while out of combat. So that looks like it's just for at the start of the round only, so I feel like this won't be really useful. I feel like you can get more use out of other stuff, so. And then you got one with just 25 armor. Next one, first aid kit, 25 shields. Reduce the time before your life begins regenerating by 33%. Reduce the time. Oh, okay, so does that mean your life begins regenerating? Does that mean respawn, possibly? Increase respawn time or decrease respawn time? Alright, heartbeat sensor, 5% move speed. Enemies below 30% life are revealed to you. Siphon gloves, quick melee damage, heals for 25 life. I feel like I won't get much use of this one because I most of the time, 99%, I just played scoped in. Alright, next for the rare skills for survival. Reinforced titanium, 25 shields. When you have shields, take 10% reduced ability damage. Cushion padding, 25 shields. And then minus 40% incoming negative effect duration. So that probably... So that includes... I assume it also includes like enemy, dynamite, stun, sleep, hinder that they mention here. Maybe EMP. But that seems to be really good. So when affected by stun or sleep or hinder, restore 10% of your max life. Next, when you use an ability, gain 25% over health. So Vishkar Condenser, 25 shields, convert 100 health into shields. Vitality, convert 100 health into armor. Crusader Hydraulics, when you have armor, take 10% reduced weapon damage. Iron Knot Side, you take 15% reduced damage from crit hits. Mecha Z Series, 8% health, armor, and shields. And then Silver Spurs, hero item, 25 health. After using Coach Gun, gain 20% movement speed for 3 seconds. Next is the epic section, starting off with Genesis Vial. The first time you would die each round, revive instead with 200 life after 3 seconds. Bloodbound, the last enemy to deal a final blow to you is revealed when nearby. Deal 10% more damage to them and take 10% reduced damage from them. Okay, so that'd be good if you're like getting dove a lot and for some reason your team doesn't help you with, I guess. Next one, we take more than 100 damage at once, restore 15% of damage taken, and start regenerating your shields. Gloom Gauntlet, 50 armor, 15% melee damage. Melee grants 10% move speed and restores 5% of life for over 2 seconds. Martian Mender, 25 health, 10% cooldown reduction, restores 3% of your life every 1 second. Phantasmic Flux, so this is a lot. This is 4 different things. So you get 10% weapon power, 10% ability power, 15% life steal, 15% ability lifesteal, and while you're at full life, lifesteal grants up to 100% over health. Next is 15% armor, health, and shields, while below 30% life gain 10% damage reduction. This is a lot too. Vanadium Injection. You get 50 shields while at 100% ultimate charge. Gain, I guess you gain all of those. So the longer you hold Bob, or if you don't have a Bob eccentric build, this will probably be good for you. So while you hold your Bob at 100% ultimate charge, you get 10% weapon power, 10% ability power, 10% attack speed, 10% cooldown reduction, and 10% move speed. Nebula Conduit, 50 health. I keep wanting to say 50%, but it's not 50%. That would be crazy if it was 50%. You also get 10% weapon power, prevent 15% of incoming damage, and instead take that prevented damage over 33 seconds. This one, when you take damage, gain 0.5% damage reduction. 1 second, stacking up to 20 times. Goodness. Bob Wire Defense, 50 health, 25 armor. When Bob finishes charging, he gains 30% or 300 armor. Firestarter, that's funny. There's a ring in Maple Store called Firestarter. Firestarter wing. 50 health, you're burning. Effects gain 35% life steal. That's a lot. Alright, so that's all for the survival for the armory for Ashe. Alright, last but not least, for armory for Ashe, we have just power, which you can equip a power after the first round, third round, fifth round, and seventh round. So you can pick one of these each. So this one, you can see Head Honcho. Each unscoped shot you land increases the damage of the next scoped shot you land by 3% up to 30%. Resets on reload. Incendiary rounds, while scoped, hitting the same target without missing deals 30 extra damage. So that's really good if you just land your shots a lot. My business, my rules. When you deal damage to a burning enemy with a Viper, reduce the cooldown of your abilities by 10%. Reload therapy. When you reload a shot, heal 3% of your life. Calamity. Using Coach Gun reloads 2 ammo. The Viper's next 2 hits deal 40 additional damage over 3 seconds. So that 40 means it's ability damage. So it looks like these are free too, so you don't have to use credits for those. Double barreled, Coach Gun gains an additional charge. Incendiary blast, Coach Gun applies burning, dealing 100 ability damage over 5 seconds. If the target was burning, deal 75 additional damage instantly. Early detonation, shooting dynamite reloads 5 ammo and reduces the cooldown of dynamite by 3 seconds. Molten munitions, when dynamite explodes on the ground, it leaves lava that burns enemies for 50 every 1 second. Out with a bang. When dynamite explodes, it spawns 3 sticky explosives that deal 66% reduced damage. Bob Jr. So this is the tiny Bob that we saw in the preview video. Costs 50% less ultimate charge, but has reduced life, 50% reduced attack speed, and is significantly smaller. So does this mean his life is halved as well? Okay. I don't know if I would pick that one, but definitely will try it. Last one, Partners in Crime. You are healed for 100% of Bob's damage dealt, and Bob is healed for 100% of your damage dealt. Ooh. That's cool. Alright, so that's it for the powers that you can pick for the armory for Ashe. So this last tab, it just has example builds, so it has a build based off of the Viper and a build based off of Bob, so you can pre-pick these if you're unsure what to do. You can just test them out. It's basically a nice little starting point that you guys can start off with. So we will be streaming on twitch.tv/cendriel and also on YouTube. Stadia mode. I'll mostly be playing Ashe, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or if you want to catch me live, I'm more than happy am able to take questions live as well. AMA Ask Me Anything type of thing. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out the other Ashe Stadium videos, and hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.